Up the pipe!
G'day guys, Nate here, hoping you guys are having a very good weekend so far. I know I am at least. It's a lazy Sunday for me here, and I thought I'd make a video with an injury update on Dan McStay, as well as a VFL report for our round 5 win over Essendon on Saturday night at ETU Stadium. That was in Port Melbourne. And again, I'll verbally apologise as well, because I said in the Anzac Day review video that the Pies VFLW team were playing their round 2 game against Essendon at ETU Stadium as a doubleheader. That was clearly not the case, because I tuned into the VFLW game Saturday morning, and much to my surprise, the game was at Windy Hill. So unless my eyes deceived me or there was a venue change during the week, I'll go with the former, as I haven't seen any announcements to defend myself here. I apologise for the error. Hopefully no one went to fucking ETU Stadium to watch the VFLW. I'm going to talk more about the VFLW later on in this video, as well as the VFL team, as well as Dan McStay's injury news. Before I do though, make sure you guys are subscribed to my channel, leave a comment to discuss all things Collingwood, give the video a like, share it around if you wish. So the news came through around noonish or afternoon Saturday that Dan McStay had a grade 3 strain in his left knee, which would rule him out for the next 6 to 8 weeks. Collingwood posted the news on their website yesterday, confirming the news that Dan McStay had sustained a left knee medial collateral ligament strain, more commonly known as an MCL. That was during the final quarter of the Anzac Day win. That's on their website. It says the final quarter, but it happened late in the third quarter. Charlie Gardner, our executive GM, said, "Unfortunately, scans confirmed this morning that Dan had sustained a moderate grade MCL injury during yesterday's Anzac Day match against Essendon. The injury is expected to see him out of the game for the next 6 to 8 weeks. This is obviously a disappointing setback for Dan, who has been in good form and has played a really important role for the team so far this season. Dan is an absolute professional and has shown remarkable ability to bounce back from injury and setbacks across his career, so we are confident he'll play an important role for us in the second half of the season." So that was Charlie Gardner yesterday. For Dan McStay, the guy can't catch a break. He's had the injury bug since coming over to Collingwood end of 2022. This is his 4th injury or 4th minor or major injury at Collingwood since coming over. This recent one, however, might be the shortest recovery time compared to the others. So if you go back to Gather Round 2023, he suffered a flexor tendon injury in his finger, missed 3 months of senior footy, came back in round 18, played up until the prelim final where he sustained a right knee MCL against GWS, unfortunately missed the 2023 premiership and then ruptured his ACL in his left knee in December 2023, came back in round 20 last year, played 5 games, kicked 8 goals. I kicked a goal in every game as well. He looked good in his short time last year. That was about a 6+ month recovery time. He's played 6 games so far this season, or 7 games, including Anzac Day, kicked 8 goals, and now he's out for 2 months of footy here, and it sucks to see. Missed the 2023 premiership due to injury. His old side wins the premiership last year, and now he's got this injury news here, the left knee MCL injury. Now, unless he has an aggravation or rehab goes poorly, or there's a form slump in his return, Dan McStay should be back around the post-bye area. Give it until about round 19, that would be around mid-July, to return to the senior side. I would expect Dan McStay to play a couple of VFL games to get match fit again, but I am remaining optimistic on his return and the injury news at front. Dan McStay, prior to this injury, had played 25 out of a possible 55 games for us, so he's missed more than half of every game possible, and he's going to miss even more time as well. I don't know what voodoo doll Brisbane has, or what curse or hex they've summoned upon Dan McStay since leaving Brisbane end of 2022, or whatever fucking injury bug they've implanted into Dan McStay. Just got to be optimistic on Dan McStay and his recovery and rehab. I'm wishing Dan McStay all the best and a speedy recovery, and I'm looking forward to his return in a few months' time. So an update on our injury list. We've got 5 players out with a timeline of a month or longer recovery time. Lockie Schultz and Darcy Moore will both be tests for the Geelong game. Hopefully Darcy Moore's ear and vertigo symptoms have subsided. And we do need height down back rather than key forward options as a priority right now. Surprisingly, we've got some selection debates for key forwards with Dan McStay out, and that's a good little segue into the VFL report. Round 5 VFL action, Collingwood defeated Essendon by 31 points, 18-11-119 to 12-16-88. But credit to Essendon here, they won majority of the key stats and metrics in this game. If we went off the key stats and were blinded by the scoreboard, you would think Essendon were up by 31 points or 31-point winners. It was the opposite effect in this game. We got slaughtered in that second quarter. Essendon kicked a goal on the half-time siren to reduce the margin to 8 points. Won the second quarter by 7 points as well, surprisingly. They dominated everything from tackles to marks to controlling the tempo, centre bounce clearances overall, you name it. Now, I was at this game, and like many Pie supporters who watched this game, we had a keen eye on our forward line setup, more specifically on Mason Cox and a lesser extent Charlie West, and both guys didn't disappoint in their performances here, both making a case for senior selection. But we can put to bed any selection conundrum with Cox and Membry. As Dan McStay is out, we've got both guys in Cox and Membry playing in the senior side for the next few months. Mason Cox will replace Dan McStay unless Craig McRae wants to throw up a wild card and play Charlie West. But Mason Cox here kicked 2 goals and had 19 hitouts. He had more hitouts than Oscar Steen in this game. Oscar Steen was the main ruck in this game. Mason Cox was the pinch hitter here. Mason Cox, again, he's going to replace Dan McStay. He's got a winning record under Craig McRae of 80% or close to 80%. We look surprisingly better with Mason Cox in the senior side. He gives Darcy Cameron a chop out in the ruck, provides height up forward as well, which gives opposition defenders a headache to deal with. Now, in this VFL game against Essendon, it wasn't a perfect performance by Mason Cox. Thought there were times when he either overran the high ball leading up or he was nudged out of contest too easily. He got his lead up timing right in the second half, got through the game unscathed in terms of injuries here. Some decent news for us as well. No injuries in the VFL. Charlie West, though, I reckon he's going to make his AFL debut this season. He kicked 3 goals here, 2 in the first quarter. Probably should have been lining up for goal number 4 or even number 5 in that third quarter as well. His efforts around the ground as a key forward, particularly in his first senior year here, it's just good to watch. His efforts you can't teach. It's efforts that he has. It's going to galvanise our senior group when he does get the call up. And for Pies fans who don't tune into the VFL, who are unaware of Charlie West or don't take stock into the lesser Collingwood stuff outside of the AFL, they're going to love Charlie West when he gets called up to senior footy. But for now, Charlie West still needs to keep building on these performances, keep kicking goals. His AFL debut not too far away, but it's going to be Mason Cox over Charlie West for now. One thing I did get right in my last video when discussing the VFL is we did have 13 AFL listed players for this game against Essendon. I've already mentioned Mason Cox and Charlie West. But another tall that impressed me here was Oscar Steen in the ruck. Now, in previous games this season, we've gone with typically Oscar Steen and Aliro Smith as a ruck combo. It was mostly Oscar Steen in the ruck, with Mason Cox providing a chop out. But Oscar Steen here, 16 hitouts, 18 disposals, kicked a goal as well. He's like a lesser version of Darcy Cameron. What Ned Long is to Nick Dacos in the midfield is what Oscar Steen is to Darcy Cameron in the ruck. Oscar Steen had an injury-riddled 2024. He's played every game so far this season in the VFL. And then this VFL game, or this performance by Oscar Steen, was his second highest rated game while at Collingwood. Hope to see Oscar Steen build on this performance and hopefully give us a few ruck options in the future as well. While on the discussion of tall options here, if there's one thing I don't want to see going forward in the VFL is I don't want to see Smith being tried as a key defender. We picked up Smith as a ruck forward option in the mid-season draft last year. He did show promise in his limited game time while playing for us in the VFL last year. He was interrupted by injury in pre-season here. Right now, though, he's being tried as a key defender, and that's just not his role. He had a negative rated game in this one, surprisingly. Only 2 handballs, no kicks, no marks, no anything. Nothing important in this game, to be honest. He did have a knock, however, in the first half. I don't think that impacted his game here, but he looks like a fish out of water as a key defender. And with Mason Cox being called up, we've got to go back to Steen and Smith playing as a ruck combo. Smith playing ruck forward again. Now, I know we like height down back in the VFL. It is a weakness for Collingwood's VFL team right now. That's what Smith provides. He's got that height down back right now. That's about it at the moment. Maybe I'm being too negative here on this switch for Smith, but he's much better as a ruck forward option. And when it comes to this year's mid-season draft as well, we've also got Ash Johnson coming back soon. Let's prioritise getting a tall key defender in the mid-season draft. We've got options up forward. I think Smith can also make a case as a ruck forward option as well. Just on the defenders, Joel Cochran, he had a good first half, but then tapered off in the second half. That was weirdly the theme of our AFL-listed players in this game. The guys who had a good first half tapered off, and those who had a slow start, they lifted the game as the game went on. A lot of serviceable performances from our AFL-listed players here, and Joel Cochran was no exception across half-back. Charlie Dean as well, he was our last line of defence for the majority of this game, and by half-time, I thought Joel Cochran had a better game compared to Charlie Dean. But by full-time, Charlie Dean ended up having a better performance compared to Joel Cochran. Charlie Dean had more intercept possessions and marks, and made a case as well that if we have more injuries down back in the AFL side, Charlie Dean will at least provide cover for us. Now, I'm going to lump these 3 players together, Oleg Markov, Tao Jath and Jacob Ryan, because if I had to pick one for senior selection right now, I would probably pick Tao Jath. TJ, he had a very good first quarter, but again, he also tapered off. But he did provide a lot of drive off half back. He got involved in the handball chains, mostly didn't work effectively. But his efforts, again, were very good. I enjoyed his game. I was very interested in how he would perform in this game. And if TJ can build on this performance, he'll get a second AFL game later this season. Will Parker was selected in the middle for this game. He's more of a defensive midfielder. He's got a bit of a John Noble about him at the moment. 16 disposals, 3 clearances and a goal. He's got good goal sense from outside 50 as well. I also thought Harry Di Mattia played his best game of the season so far. He was playing more that roaming midfielder role. He had 18 disposals, 5 clearances and 5 tackles. He missed a set shot in the first quarter. There was quite a few players as well. Had they converted, had they kicked a goal or two, it makes their stats look a little bit better in this game. Will Hayes was another one. He kicked 0 goals too, only 7 disposals, only 3 effective disposals in this game. He didn't back up his 3-goal game from last week. He's a very speedy player, but he's too speedy for his own good right now. Gets in the right spots, gets the footy, but then he fumbles it straight away. To be fair to Will Hayes, though, his hand was bandaged in this game. Not sure if there's anything to look into, though. Ed Allen, 22 disposals, 5 tackles, but kicked 0 goals too. Again, another one, had he kicked a goal or two, makes his stats look a little bit better. I think Ed Allen's defensive efforts have been questioned a little bit too much. I had no issues with Ed Allen's game here or his defensive efforts in this game. He's probably in the Finn McRae role right now, where he's too good for the VFL, but not good enough for AFL level. Ned Long comfortably has surpassed Ed Allen. I'm 3 or 4 weeks late on that statement. Lockie Sullivan, though, right now pips Ed Allen for selection talks. Ed Allen, though, just needs to toil away in the VFL. Maybe get selected for the Freo game, but again, needs to toil away in the VFL and also needs to make a selection statement in doing so. Just behind a few teams on percentage, and the only loss was again a 1-point defeat to Brisbane last week after the siren. We're scoring well, despite conceding a fair bit, and that's due to a lack of height down back. But fair play to Andy Odden as our VFL coach right now. He's doing a good job so far. And with a mostly healthy list and a fit and firing playing group, as well as future inclusions to come in from injuries, Pies VFL team, they're tracking well towards a final spot, hopefully top 6 and not the wild card round. But yeah, so far so good for the VFL team. Now, just real briefly, I'm going to mention the VFLW team, round 2 action against Essendon. We went down by 40 points, 3 goals 6-24 to Essendon's 10 goals 4-64, and that was largely won in the first half as well, more specifically by quarter time. One of the commentators mentioned early on in the second quarter, this was a training drill for Essendon. It got out to 49 points halfway through the second quarter. It was heading towards a cricket score, triple-digit margin. Essendon, they won every stat except the tackle count. Fair play to Collingwood's VFL team, consolation second half. Better efforts in the second half. We won the second half surprisingly, but again, that's a consolation right there. Got to bounce back next round. Essendon, the VFL team, they took their foot off the pedal, deserving winners in this game. But that will be all from me today for updates around Dan McStay in the VFL Round 5 report, as well as the brief VFLW Round 2 report. Now, for next week, again, it's a triple header for Saturday, May 3rd, 10:05am at Victoria Park, VFLW Round 3. Collingwood takes on the Western Bulldogs. 2:05pm at Victoria Park, VFL Round 6. Collingwood takes on Footscray. I don't know why the VFLW team is listed as the Western Bulldogs and the VFL team is listed as Footscray Bulldogs, but anyway. Then the big one, 7:35pm, AFL Round 8 action. Collingwood takes on Geelong. Jack Crisp breaking the VFL AFL record for consecutive games played, surpassing the late Jim Steins. I have decided I'm going to go to all 3 games. This is going to be some work. I may fall asleep at halftime for the AFL game. 3 Collingwood games, though, in the same day. I'll attend all 3. Very rare for those triple header actions to come around. I'll take it, and good luck to me for next week. I'll have a preview video of Collingwood v Geelong uploaded on Wednesday night after work, and then the review of Collingwood v Geelong will be uploaded sometime on Sunday. I will have the camera on next week for the review. I do apologise in advance if I look like a zombie, because Saturday is going to be a big fucking day. And I'm also going to be at St Kilda v Fremantle Friday night, so it's going to be a huge 24 hours of footy for me after work Friday and Sunday as well to record the review. Once again, make sure you guys are subscribed to my channel. Leave a comment to discuss all things Collingwood. Give the video a like, share it around, tell your sisters about it, whatever you want to do. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. In the meantime, be well, stay safe, have a very good weekend. Magpies out.